resources, and whether or not people were creating resources for their families and their ministries, if there was a need for them, and just kind of gauging where people were at. And the direction that we seemed to head in was more on the side of, we don't need to create more pieces of work. We don't need to create more things, but thinking about how we can still connect with each other through this time and still engage deeply with spiritual practices in a way that's accessible, in a way that invites in the whole family, and that sort of range. So less about people creating things and more about being creative about how we connect and how we can encourage our families and our youth to continue their practices at home. And so, yeah, I don't really know if it's kind of an abstract conversation starting piece, but I guess my question out of that is if y'all have been hearing the same from your communities, if what are their needs, what are sorts of things that they're looking for, or do they feel like they've been given too much? What sorts of things have y'all been hearing from your families and youth?
Maggie.
So I think what I've felt or heard, or some of both from St. John's, is that they have a lot of things that the parents are needing to lead. Especially, so I'm Maggie. I'm the director of family ministries at St. John's, so I do children and youth. And I think especially with the younger people, parents are kind of like, they are, by the end of the day, done teaching. And to add a church thing onto that is a lot. And so I think what I've found is that it's helpful when they get something that's already formatted, like a video or something like that. I felt a lot like Dora the Explorer, like, tell me what you think. Great. But it's been good. What I'm going to do next week, I've been doing Lectio Divina with the high schoolers and middle schoolers over video. And I'm going to make a video, I think maybe weekly, with scripture, with me going through Lectio Divina, but where you can pause it to do your own reflection. So that's kind of the way that I'm leaning with all of these things. Less like, here's how to facilitate for something for your family, and more, here's the whole package.
Yeah, it seems to me that that's something that the whole family can sort of enter into together, right? Is that the intention of it? So it's not just something that parents pull the pieces together and do for their kids, but it's something that the family can have together. Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Just the hope.
Yeah. You know, as a parent of 3 young children who, relearning math, learning a whole new way of doing math, and science, and helping with instruction and things like that. It is difficult, I think, to be like, oh man, we gotta log in and do one more thing, on our schedule. And I think it does. I think it does weigh on people at times. I'm on the other side. I'm sure there are people who are desiring it in their own situation. And so, what are some of the things y'all are doing? Like the 50 words of Easter. What's that about?
Yeah, that I guess another St. John's thing that your churches may have come to is that a big part of this is just like how we're going to come out on the other end of this with our parish members still feeling connected to one another. And so St. John's is posting a word a day for the 50 days of Easter that, so far they've been empty, question, and confusion. And you're welcome to comment on them, share a song or video or a piece of art or your own reflections. And if and when I'm meeting with children or youth that day, so today I'm meeting with children, and we're going to talk about question as our little meeting to tie the children into this greater body practice.
That's really cool. So the idea is looking at the resurrection and how those words sort of elicit are elicited through that lens, or
Yes. So it's, I think in part, give a comment that about how you relate to the word question through the lens of the resurrection. But some people have been more broad about their spiritual lives. Like, I question God in the bad times more than the good times. Do I only trust God in the good times? That kind of stuff. So less exactly focused on resurrection. But I think it's mostly a spiritual engagement thing. And so far it's been good. I think there are a lot more readers than writers, but I think that counts.
mm-hmm. Thanks, Maggie.
Mm-hmm.
What else from anyone else? Addie?
We as a church, I'm from Trinity Cathedral. We as a church are starting this Sunday, we're doing like an all parish read of Acts. So from now until Pentecost, we'll be reading a bit of Acts every day. This came out of Christ Church in Houston, but they essentially would just have a reading plan where it's like 15 verses a day for the next until Pentecost. And so we put it out like on social media, and we just sent out a little calendar of like, I can send it in here, but just a breakdown of like the verses for each day, so you could like print it out and just put it somewhere in your house. But I've been going around and dropping off things at people's houses today, and so I've like seen a lot of my parishioners today, and I've actually already we sent it out this morning, and I got a lot of good feedback even just today, where they were like, I'm just excited to have like a daily task. So I think that's been well received from what I've heard. We're like just starting to roll it out, and we're going to start it, like the reading plan starts this coming Sunday. So we're looking forward to that.
Great. Anybody else? Have y'all thought about, it seems like at least just looking around on Facebook and things like that, talking with people, it seems like there's sort of this forming need for like a reflection, like what's happened so far. Like, so this kind of big sort of focused attention to leading up to Holy Week and then Easter. And have y'all noticed in your communities that there's been a desire? I think St. John's is doing that a little bit with their words, with the 50 words, but a desire for theological reflection, for just kind of taking account of what's happening at the, in the midst of all this. What's been y'all's sense with that? And how, and if y'all have been engaging in it, what have y'all been doing to engage your communities?
Jimmy. Well, we haven't really done a whole lot of that. I think that we've been very much in adaptation mode, helping the families and a lot of our older folks figure out how to do what we're doing now. It has been the primary focus. And we do have a lot to reflect on in all of that, particularly here where we're still very much involved in cleaning up after, really terrible tornado 2 days ago. Mm-hmm. I think there's lots of rich material there. I have found that, I'm doing my Inquirers class through Zoom, and I have found that the reflection piece in that environment is a little bit harder to do. I'm not sure why. And if anybody has some some kind of tips on that, that would be really helpful, because it's really been stilted in a way that the face-to-face conversations have not been.
Well, can you kind of lay it out for us a little bit, and sort of the broad strokes, and maybe that would give us a way in to be able to.
So we have 10 people in our Inquirers class, and we've been working our way through Walking in Love, which is a really great book for that purpose. And we were maybe a third of the way through the class when we had to stop meeting in person. And I don't know, the conversation just isn't happening the way that it was when we were meeting face to face. It's about half of the people in the class are probably 50 or older, and then about half of the class are young adults. Probably 30s into early 40s. Is that enough?
Yeah, Maggie.
Could you, so what I've been doing, I've been having meetings with individual youth during this, and I've been giving them a task at the end of each meeting, and they have to reflect on it daily somehow. So it's been like, where do you see God? What was something in the sermon on Sunday that you, that is not news that you want to hear, that is going to make your life harder, not easier, that kind of stuff. And so having it put in front of them beforehand, and then coming back and saying, well, Monday I felt this way, and then Thursday this was what I noticed, that's been helpful for us. And it helps give your days structure anyway. Yeah,
that's helpful. Actually, this last time that we met, we were looking at 2 chapters on church and what it means to be church. And I told them before we meet next time to discuss those chapters, that we might take some time to reflect on how being church might look different today than it did 4 weeks ago. So I'm really eager to see how that conversation goes. Thank you. That was helpful.
Yeah, Amy, and then Caitlin.
So I'm Amy Malik. I'm Director of Adult Ministries here at Christ Church in Greenville. And we had a class scheduled for Lent that met once before we were not allowed to meet anymore. And we had a good attendance for this new Sunday school, but then we didn't meet the second week because the leaders were just too rattled by everything, having to get their kids, situated in school, blah, blah, blah. And then when it came back, we had a good attendance. 30 something plus on this online Zoom Sunday school, but the demographic totally changed. It totally flipped. It was like 40, 45 plus age group. We were trying to hit the 35 to 50-year-olds. We had targeted them, and that's what it was going to be when they were meeting on campus. But when it was a Zoom meeting and it met at the same time as Sunday school, 9:30 on Sundays, the younger set, after calling a few of the leaders who didn't get, didn't get to lead, I said, talk to me about what's going on. And they did not feel comfortable with having to do something with young children while they were attending their own Sunday school at 9:30. So this was actually putting a stress on them. So, we just never heard from them again, that younger set that you're talking about. But I'm just curious if the attendance stopped or if it just, you said there were about 10 in the class, but did the attendance just stop or just the conversation stopped?
No, the attendance has been really good, except for this last Monday when nobody had power. So they didn't have Wi-Fi.
Oh, yeah.
So no, the attendance has been good, but we weren't meeting during the Sunday school time. We were meeting on Monday evenings. So it was a kind of different dynamic than what it sounds like you're describing.
All right.
we have found that our Sunday school teachers who were very excited about the possibility of providing some sort of online Sunday morning experience, when they reached out to the parents were like, please don't do that.
Right.
It's just another thing that we have to do. I will quote one mom who said, if I have to put together a craft, you're never going to see me again.
Yeah. So we're starting a new series this week. We took a week off for Easter, and we're starting a new series, and it's called Stress Resilience, and it's based on this Living Compass. So that's what we did during Lent, and everybody liked that because they got a daily devotional, and that's what they're supposed to talk about. So it's not like a lot of homework. It's just it comes in your email. But this is going to be a little different, and we're still hashing it out. We have a meeting tomorrow, so I'll be interested to see how many come back for that. But we're also broadening the age range, and we also added a different class, a current events class, a little bit later in the morning. But that's what we've observed and what we've seen.
Caitlin, did you want to weigh in on Sue's question or have something else?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention something I've been experiencing in my EFM class. I'm a third year. The last however many weeks we've been meeting online, 4 weeks or so, everybody has had the same complaint before they share, and that is cannot concentrate on the readings, period. And this is something you hear it on social media, wherever. So I just wanted to just tell Suze, we're in a time where we have to reevaluate our expectations every single day. And honestly, it's not that people don't want to share. I just think that people are just having a difficult time absorbing information in that way. So I was going to do a book study, and I've changed my mind. I'm kind of every week I'm winging it with my adult formation. I've taken a lot of good stuff from you guys talking about like the content I'm putting out for kids and things like that I need to focus more on just stuff that people can watch. I've definitely had the same experience with the demographics. I've had actual, younger people tell me that they're just zoomed out, and I have other demographics that's not the case. So, if they can't make it, they can't make it, that's fine. So I'll just continue to make videos that people can just watch from their couch. But as far as your book study goes, I would really just, at this point, just whatever you can get from them, be happy with it, and then find something lighter, easier, that doesn't require as much concentration, I guess, to participate. And it's also hard too, because I don't know if you guys have noticed, but the conversation is so cyclical right now. It's just like it's focused on one or two things. It's so difficult to branch out and discuss anything other than this, unique experience that we're all going through right now. So, I don't know, we have hard jobs right now.
Yeah, thank you so much, Caitlin. That was such an important reminder for me about the concentration being hard, because I know I've experienced it and just hadn't made that next connection. Thank you.
Yeah, and I wonder to that extent, you're doing a newcomers class, so you're trying to help people get sort of a swath of the community that they're entering into. And you said you had like 10 or 12 folks. I wonder if you simplify it by offering like conversation partners, that where they can meet on their own terms in their own way, with something that guides that conversation, so they're taking a little bit of what Maggie is saying, is giving them something, but then having it sort of, rather than just class tutorial time, this exploration time that they can sort of self-form. And maybe you have 10 people or 15 or 20 or however, you do groups of 3 and you sit in on there with them, you make the group smaller. and a little bit more, a little bit more easily, like in this conversation, I mean, we have 20, 15 people on. There's no way that we could have a participatory, conversation on this that didn't take 5 hours to get through everybody's, everybody's thought and the responses to those thoughts. But if you were to break it down into smaller, more manageable groups, I wonder if that's a key, at least to get through your particular need. It may not work for a book study or something, but of small groups, the model of having the rector of the church or the adult minister have their book study group at the beginning of the week, who then has the same book study with 4 other people, and kind of minimizing that, the need to have a million people on that can't all share their ideas. I wonder if that's something that's worth trying out. I mean, thinking about the book study at Christ Church with 30 folks in it. Applying maybe some small group work around that where you have a leader of those small groups. Maybe it's you, Amy. Maybe it's 5 people that you tap to do smaller. And you teach them, people who are willing to do that, and then you break that out. I think that could be useful in a youth ministry context as well. I don't know, it's just thought. And that may also be a terrible idea.
If something doesn't work, we'll just say, Jimmy suggested it and it was a terrible idea.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll take it. Be like, well, I was on this call and the guy from the Dawson House said. So what else is going on? What have y'all experienced within your church? Or what have you identified that needs to happen? Or how have you resonated with the conversation so far? Caitlin. Yeah, go ahead, Caitlin.
I was just holding my hand up. I wasn't.
Oh, no, you have to talk
I
now.
had it propped up on my knee.
Okay. Cease. All right, you propping your hand up on your knee too?
No, I was just going to say that primarily what I have observed in our parish, and I'm sorry, I neglected to introduce myself ever. I'm Suze Kate. I'm at Holy Trinity in Clemson. And what I've noticed is that people really just want to see each other and talk to each other, and not even necessarily have an agenda about it. And that they're finding that very formational. They have really appreciated worship online. I think we've gotten more engagement in worship since we have had to do it online. Then that's an exaggeration, but it just seems like people are really appreciative of those opportunities to get together and just see their people.
Yeah, it's something that Caitlin and I talked about yesterday a little bit. Was I had that sort of tenor to it, that so much of it is not about like delivering something to people, but letting them have be in some sense, be with people, be in a moment where they can reflect on what God's doing, be, and not giving them, part of the conversation sort of derived from, the Bishop Gravitz Center, Camp Gravitz, considering doing online camp, right? Which obviously there's never been a market for that before ever. So they don't have a clue what they're doing. But, you know, but one of the things is like, so that works in a certain sense if the parents aren't the camp counselors. You know, if, you know, is Gravitt going to mail all the supplies to the parents every week? And then, you know, I don't, you know, how does that work? What's the chain of getting people ready for it? So, and I think to that extent, the purpose of that was just to kind of reiterate what you're saying. Like, people just, I think, you know, the type of formation they need is community and fellowship to a large extent. And then, you know, if that's accomplished in a book study or in small group, which I'd like to hear from Molly, Holly in a second, about her trying to ramp up her small group. But you know, how do you make space for, you know, for the need within what we're trying to accomplish formationally? So, Holly, what do you mentioned on your group chat that you're struggling to start with a small group? Do you want to kind of elaborate?
Well, so I used to be in charge of small groups at Christ Church, and this is a women's group that I had started. I think we're now in our probably going into our third year of being together. But anyway, now Amy Malik, who also is on this call, is in that role, and I'm the director of children's ministry. But anyway, we are launching. It was planned because we had finished a study, and tonight actually at 6:30 we're launching our new study, and our lay leader is, I guess she's reluctantly embracing Zoom, but she's going to embrace it. And so we're going to have our reading. She actually sent out the video last night for us to go ahead and watch. And then we've got the meeting scheduled. She's got the meeting time scheduled for an hour and a half, like our regular meeting, when we normally watch the 30-minute-ish video and then discuss. But now we're having, there's an hour and a half time slated, which is supposed to be all discussion. And so I'm even struggling personally because I have 3 adult children, you know, home from college and 1 high schooler, and the meeting is at 6:30. And, you know, I'm even thinking, wow, you know, and just imagining, you know, families with young children and just finding the space to actually give that much time to something that's just for me almost seems selfish.
Yeah. Any thoughts about that from anybody? Yeah. So Holly, you know, one of the things that we might, you know, that might be worth thinking about is, well, if I could retain my memory more than 3 seconds, it's like flashing light, you know, like a squirrel runs across the window, and you're like, what? But let me try it. I had a thought there that slipped my mind. Sorry. Geez, I hate it when I do this.
Jimmy,
Yeah.
this is Amy. Oh,
Okay.
video back on. I was eating my lunch. One thing I thought about is, like, you know, if in normal everyday life, if Holly said tonight is my night to go to do my women's book study, and she was not present at the house, you know, her family wouldn't necessarily demand her needs. They would know mom's away and we're going to do our own thing right now. But because she's in the next room, you know, they're going to open the door, say hello, what are you doing? You know, it's that you if you have a girls' night out, or if you have a book study, or if you have something that takes you outside of the house, nobody can interrupt you, in other words, really. I mean, drop your cell phone or whatever. But now it's like everybody's there, or Zoom bing bongs you and then everybody's here. It's like, it's almost like, awkwardly enough, there's no privacy.
Right.
And maybe that's kind of a little bit of what she's feeling, is guilt, is that, because she's there, that the family wants her there and she feels like she should be there.
Mm-hmm.
Even though she's 24/7 now.
Right. So yeah, and I wonder. So it makes me think of creating expectation and boundaries. And maybe that's a part of the formation that we can offer for people in our parishes to be able to think about what's healthy for the family is sometimes what's healthy for Ollie. And help families have conversations, resource families that to have conversations about mom needs to go for a walk by herself. She doesn't need to get you another glass of milk right now. Which on this call alone I've heard multiple times in the background in my own house. So I wonder if there's a place for conversation, either within these small groups that y'all are putting together or not, to be able to name those feelings of guilt, of being away from the family when everybody else is kind of stuck together, but also to be able to come up with some healthy, helpful ways per community to be able to have those times of either prayer or alone time or whatever it might be, both for the parents and for the kids. I know when my middle son is overstimulated and everybody's around him, things don't turn out so well for everybody, And so I wonder if that's part of the formation that we can offer for people, as some helpful tools. And I'd love to hear what, some suggestions about that or things like that. Maybe something that we could start collating together. But certainly, we still need those times. We need our book studies for ourselves, and our children need, virtual lunch with their buds, even though it's an absolute cacophony of chaos and that ensues from the iPad at 11:45 every day. That those spaces are still so important. And so, what can we offer as a people, either to as a formation folks or the church, to be able to give people some comfort in knowing that those feelings are natural, and that our needs make us all better, or tending to our needs make us the family, the community, better, healthier. Thoughts? Well, maybe that's maybe that's off track or whatnot, but it just is kind of food for thought. So what else is happening in your parish? What thoughts, what gifts are y'all, successes and things like that? What are y'all trying to attend to, things like that? Suze.
I think the most successful thing that we've done is doing Compline every night. And it's not particularly interactive. We're just live streaming it. But the conversation that's going on in the comments as people are giving prayer requests and just sort of responding prayerfully to what's happening on their screen has really, it's created a little community that is, I mean, they're waiting for Compline to start at 8:30 every night. And you can tell that because they're there. Mm-hmm. And I think that just something that is that short, you know, it's 10 minutes and it is centered around prayer and trying as much as possible to pull people into that. And I think that's been the most successful thing we've done formationally since we haven't been able to meet together.
Yeah, Laura.
Hey, one thing that we found that worked well is that people like to have something daily that's not terribly long. And we also use the Living Compass Lenten resource. And so what we did once we had to go where we were not together, our clergy would actually read the devotional every day and then provide a really short little reflection. And we had a lot of people that watched that daily. And so we've talked today, we had a staff Zoom meeting earlier, and we're going to continue some type of daily devotion. So it's just really short and it doesn't require any kind of interaction, but it does give people things to look forward to daily, to look at, to watch, and then to have things to think about during the day. And then, so as we're also starting Compline, our youth are actually going to do that. They're going to live stream it, and I think they're using Instagram. I could be wrong. Paula can correct me if I'm wrong, but one of our youth directors with one youth will actually lead that, and we're going to make the whole congregation aware of it. They're going to do it Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So, and then another thing that's really kind of out of the box that you all might want to think about is we offer Eucharist 3 times a week. So we have a service on Tuesdays at 5:30 and Thursdays at 12:15. Sorry, did I have the wrong time? Anyway, we offer it Tuesday evenings, Thursday midday, and of course worship on Sundays. We're going to ring our bells. We're going to play hymns for about 15 minutes and let the community know if they want to drive by or walk by. That's something that, you know, you don't have to do anything with, but it can be very uplifting to the community. So I just throw those ideas out to you all if those are things you might want to consider as well in your own communities.
Thanks, Laura. Well, what else? Okay.
We have also had a tremendous response to doing Compline daily. I think they're also doing, forgive me for not knowing, morning and midday prayers. I'm Caitlin from St. Matthew's in Spartanburg, by the way. I don't think I introduced myself. But I was talking on a meeting I was having earlier this week about the numbers, the viewership, which is through the roof compared to what our attendance is in person. I think we had over 500 downloads for our Sunday sermon this Easter, which was crazy for us. We're very small. So, you know, some of the things that have started we've started to talk about is, you know, when we go back to normal, what else are we going to continue in this form? Because we've had so much success with attendance, even if we're struggling in conversation sometimes, we're struggling with content a little bit, we have people showing up virtually in droves, really. Same thing for our formation classes. I'm floored by the attendance I have every Sunday. I had one on Easter just to have it so that people would have someone to talk to if they were by themselves. And my God, I was just floored by how many people showed up for that class on Easter morning. And I've had people reach out to me and ask if I would continue to do this when we go back to our regular schedule, because I have plenty of parishioners who can't go to formation classes because of choir practice or kids or whatever, that sort of thing. So, you know, the good thing that has come out of this that we've noticed is just it has pulled us out of I don't want to say complacency, but you know, you tend to do things one way and it works and it's comfortable. And so it's forced us to think outside of the box a little bit and, you know, get creative. And I hope, and I think that momentum is going to carry on when we go back to how things are regularly. So, Laura, are you saying that you guys are going to have the Eucharist this Tuesday and Thursday, like coming up? Is that what you were saying?
We're going to start there. Well, the compline is going to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then we're not doing Eucharist. We're just going to do our bells. We're going to.
The bells. Okay.
Yes. And I'm sorry, y'all. I'm from the Episcopal Church of the Advent in Spartanburg. I apologize. I didn't introduce myself either. So yeah, we'll just be ringing the bells for like 15 minutes playing hymns.
Well, y'all, we're approaching the end of our time. We actually have another Zoom call that's coming up at 2 o'clock, I believe. Any last thoughts or comments or concerns that might be coming up in your parish that we can chat about? Maybe we have time for one more. Yeah, Paula.
We also started talking this morning, looking at summer and vacation Bible school, and have made the decision already to at least postpone, if not cancel entirely, our vacation Bible school, and are looking at resources for virtual vacation Bible school. So if anyone has seen those already, I appreciate those resources being posted.
You know, and along with that, you know, particularly some of our smaller parishes, you know, there is an expanded capacity for us to be able to do things like VBS, consolidating some of our resources and brain power as well. Either a couple small parishes getting together or having a convocational VBS. You know, maybe some of our bigger parishes like Advent and Christ Church or Trinity, you know, to be able to offer some regional, using the capacity that y'all have, inviting other churches to come and partner alongside you. You know, the expanded capacity to doing mutual ministry could be, and this could be an incredible opportunity to try something like that out. And not just and resource sharing, like Paula was saying. So, any other thoughts? So we're gonna.
Sorry, can I?
I'm sorry.
Do we have time for me to ask? I don't want to take us down the tangent, but I remember the last one. Someone that was working with youth was talking about trying to do something around Earth Day. Has anything come of that? Because I thought that was such a great thought.
Yes. So I was in my office trying to find just things that I already had that I didn't have to buy or anything. And we have a bunch of mustard seeds that I was going to use for a program that we ended up not using because of lots of reasons. And so I put together a bunch of little packets that have just like a couple of mustard seeds and then some planting instructions for just like how to grow mustard literally in your windowsill. And then put together a little kind of like reflection on how like it all ties into our Acts study, but like how the early church grew in houses, and it was very much like individuals would like be converted but then kind of keep it to themselves, and kind of like it was very much a family unit thing. It wasn't like a go to church on Sunday kind of thing in the early church. And how like the early Christians cared for like the fragile church, so you can care for a fragile seed and like watch that grow, kind of like the early church grew, and like drew parallels for that. But so they're getting them all like today and tomorrow, because they sprout in 7 days and we're about 7 days out from Earth Day. So that way they'll all have these little like baby little greens coming up on Earth Day. So that way we can do all of our programming around like what signs of new life are you seeing, and talk about how like people haven't been driving or flying, and how like as horrific as this whole pandemic has been, it has been good for the environment, and talk about how like there's always good things and God can use all of our like darkest moments to reveal like love and grace. And so that's kind of where we're tracking for Earth Day. It obviously won't be like a big production. It'll more just be that like we'll kind of point out that it's Earth Day and say like take a walk, like go look at the flowers, it's spring, like but I was just in the idea phase last time we talked, and now I've gotten to the sending out piece of the programming. So that's where we are for that.
Suze?
So what we were planning to do is to encourage everyone to adopt a square of Earth, you know, just to mark it out in with whatever markers they want to use, like a 2x2 plot of ground, and to spend time there every day, just sort of observing it, see what comes through it, what happens with it. And, you know, as we've been talking, I'm thinking that would be perfect material for a little daily video reflection from the rector. So taking an idea that we already had and connecting it with some of the ideas that you guys have had. So thank you very much.
Well, we're out of time, but we'll continue to do this every other week. So Wednesdays at 1 o'clock. So it will be whatever 2 weeks from now is, the 29th. Am I right? Yeah, the 29th. It'll be at 1 o'clock as usual. Same connection, but we'll be sending information and reminders out. Caitlin will be sending stuff. If you get EDUSC news or clergy news, any of our stuff from youth and children's ministry, news feed stuff that we put out. Well, thanks for coming. Thanks for participating. You know, you guys will remain in my prayers, and hope things go well over the next couple of weeks. Look forward to catching back up with y'all when we do, and be well. Take care.